Hi guys, and welcome to Trucking Along with Kirsty. That's me, your positive voice in trucking. This is a tag video from No Hippie Trucking. It's a get to know us type of thing, and he gave us a list of questions, and I think he tagged 4 people, so I'm gonna wind up tagging a few people at the end. If you are tagged, let's keep this going and we'll see how many YouTubers we can get out here. And I have to buy a light because I don't like this night thing. Like, it's only like 5 o'clock, but it's already so dark and rainy and gloomy, and like, I look so old. I look like, I don't know. Oh, I look better like this. Maybe I'll just do the whole video like this. What do you think? Okay. But I gotta get one of those like circle lights to stand up or something. Anyway, question number 1 was, what was my first car? My first car was a Dodge 400. It's a car that nobody remembers. The DMV in New Jersey didn't even believe that it was a real car. So I wound up having to go to the dealership and have them come up with this statement just so I could like get the title and register the car, transfer the title and everything. And somebody in my family, now remember, South Philly Italians, people, right? Somebody in my family was owed $50. Instead of the person paying him the $50, he gave him the car. So somehow I wound up with the car, and you know, for a 17-year-old kid to get a car on her birthday was a big deal to me. But it was funny because I wound up pulling into the gas station one time, and there was a chime when you opened up the door, like most cars, ding, 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 right? Well, this was coming through the glove box, and all I did was pull up to the gas pump and turn the ignition off, and it's going ding, 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 which is not my beep, beep, beep that some of you are used to. But, you know, being from South Philly, and lots of people are connected, you never know what you're gonna run into, especially in a car that nobody wanted. So I heard this ding, 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 and I thought it was a bomb, so I jumped out of the car and I ran across the street, and the guy that worked at the gas station's like, "What the hell are you doing?" I was like waiting for the car to explode. And then one time I you know, when you're 17, when you're young, you get all excited. I went and got all the polishing wax type of stuff, and you know, all the cleanser and everything, and I went to a place and I got the upholstery cleaner type of stuff, and when I start sucking up with the rug shampooer on the floors and the seats, red rust start coming up, but the first thing I thought of was blood. And I was like, what the heck happened in this car that people just threw it at me instead of taking, you know, and, you know, what, something happened in this car. And, you know, I was 17, and keep in mind, I write books, I write crime stories, thrillers, so you never know what kind of imagination I'll come up with. Next question is, what did I do before trucking? Well, I worked at the post office for more than a decade and a half at a 24-hour processing center, where it took me 6 years to get Christmas Day off. And, you know, nobody really appreciates you. You're still doing, when you first start, you're doing 70 hours a week. And people think that you get, like, holidays off. Well, you get paid for the holidays, but you don't get them off. So it just seemed like every single holiday, it took me 6 years to get a regular schedule instead of this flexible, crazy thing. And, you know, it wasn't fun anymore. In the beginning, it was a lot of fun. Before that, my dad had a auto body shop, and I worked in the auto body shop in South Philadelphia for a while. And I really liked that. I really liked the cars. I really liked the parts and the engines and stuff. I think a lot of that and my interest in cars, because those of you who know me know that I had Mustangs for like 15 years. I love GTs, not V6s. V6s are really Tauruses that your grandmother drove with like a Mustang body on it, but you know, I like the GTs, and I had a 5.0 recently. And anyway, so I think my interest in the cars, plus working in his shop, sort of made it easier for me to transition into trucking, because I wasn't unfamiliar with just the idea of parts and, you know, shock absorbers and what would leak and stuff like that. So it might have made my pre-trip a little bit easier. What is your favorite quote? My favorite quote is, if you believe it, you can achieve it. That's really what the premise of this channel's been. You know, you're gonna hit some stumbling blocks, and I kind of got accused of judging people when I mentioned that you might hit some problems with, like, you know, reckless driving tickets or felonies or DUIs or things like that, or, you know, lack of work history. And some people took that offensively, but that's just reality out here. And you know, that doesn't mean that you can't do it. Somebody's going to be willing to take you, and you may not be able to do it right now. They might say you have to wait a year or 2 years or something of that nature, but keep believing in yourself. And, you know, if people try to put you down, then they're not worth it. They're just not worth it. So, next question. What's my favorite music? Oh my gosh. You know, No Hippie, he tagged me for this video and started this little chain, and he was talking about freestyle music from like the 80s and 90s, and, you know, classic rock, and like all the hair bands and Quiet Riot and Def Leppard and Poison and Luke Bryan, Florida Georgia Line. I like them. I have a wide variety. Who would I like to meet? I would like to meet any billionaire, any, I don't care who it is, who's willing to give me money to start a homeless shelter out of old hotels that aren't in operation anymore. Or, for example, a lot of the hotels down in Atlantic City, they had gone bankrupt, so they closed down, and some of them are vacant. So I would love to open up a homeless shelter where each room belongs to a separate family, and like they have restaurants and everything downstairs. So in order to partake of this as a shelter, they would be required to like work in the kitchen, or, you know, do cleaning and things like that. But I would also give GED classes, literacy classes, college courses, have a daycare, require that people that you know, people that utilize the daycare would also have to volunteer time in the daycare ever so often. So when people feel as though they're a part of something and they're a community, and it uplifts them rather than them feeling down. In the state of New Jersey, a lot of times when it comes to homeless shelters for women, you know, even like domestic violence shelters, abuse shelters, you're only allowed to take children of certain ages. Like, I think it's one child. You're allowed one child, and it has to be a girl of any age or a boy under 12. I think that's what it was. And I thought that was horrendous, because the whole point you're going someplace like that is for help, it's for assistance. And for somebody to sit there and say that your child's not accepted, how do I go into the shelter because I need it, but then send my kid someplace else? I just think those are really bad situations for people to be in. But I really thought that, you know, if this type of situation could be formed, it could help people with job searches and college and stuff like that. So I have no desire whatsoever to meet any one person in particular. If there's a billionaire out there that's willing to help fund my idea with a nonprofit, I'm all for it. What truck do I drive? I have a 2020 International. It is an LT 826, meaning that it is an automatic, and it's wonderful. I love this truck. I did have 2 Cascadias that were manuals. I also had an International that was an automatic, but it had an Allison transmission, which sucked. So This one's much better. I don't ever want to give up this truck. Prime announced this year that once you get your 1,000,000 miles, which I'm more than halfway there, you get to order your truck and select the truck that you're gonna be placed in as a company driver. So I'm like, woo, I already know what I'm getting. I'm getting another one of these, baby. What's the thing I like most about trucking? I like the freedom. I like that I'm not micromanaged, and I tried to do a video like showing you how often I actually communicate with my fleet manager, and it pretty much comes down to, unless there's problems that arise, you really don't hear from them. There are messages that we'll get that are like generic messages that just kind of go out periodically. There may be messages that are geared towards the load you have that they just send out to anybody that has that particular shipper or receiver. But when it comes to the micromanaging, I don't have that. It comes down to do your job and you're left alone. So, you know, like, all right, I still have 4.5 hours on my clock right now, but it was getting dark, it's pouring down rain, and I didn't feel like continuing to drive. And even if I did, my appointment's not till like late tomorrow morning, and I'm very close to the customer, you know, less than 50 miles. The closer you get to the city, the harder it is to find parking. So parking was available here at 6 o'clock at night, and I was just like, okay, fine, this is what I'm doing. Or 5 o'clock, or whatever time it is. I don't even know. It depends on the time zone. What do I like the least about trucking? The competition. There is so much competition out here. Everybody is an alpha personality. Doesn't matter if you're a male or female. If the good truckers are alphas, meaning we can make decisions. We are the ones that are motivated. We are the ones that you know, set goals. We achieve our goals. We're control freaks. People get the impression that if you're a company driver, you're treated like crap, and I really, really hate that. There's no way that somebody like me would accept being treated that way. No alpha type of personality, which you need to be successful in trucking. Are there people who aren't alphas? Sure. But they're usually better off as like second seats on a truck. But what happens is, because of the competition, even us making the videos, it turns into, well, I make more money than that. You know, I got more miles than that the last week. Oh, well, my company's better than yours. I know better than you do. You shouldn't be a company driver, you should lease. You shouldn't lease, you should be a lease op. You shouldn't be a lease op, you should be an owner op. You should go buy a truck that has, you know, for $20,000 and just run it into the ground and make money. And even when, like, you have two owner ops, let's say, they'll argue over which brokers or which load boards, or, you know, where to park, what customers. Oh, I don't go to that customer, they take forever. You know, it's just such a competition. And when one person says something or complains about something, somebody else has to top it. So I think the competition, the competitiveness, it's not always constructive. You know, sometimes competition can be healthy because it will allow you to try to improve yourself, and other times competition can be toxic. When it comes to people's personalities out here, I think there's a lot of people out here that can't handle things, and they're scared all the time, and they're nervous, and they don't know what to do, and they're afraid to make decisions. That really competitive person like me will make a decision, and if it's wrong, well, then I'll fess up and I'll learn from it, and I won't make that decision again. Sometimes you get people who don't have that kind of personality, and they make a mistake, and instead of fessing up, they blame it on everybody else. It's the fleet manager's fault, it's the company's fault, it's whoever's fault. I think that competition can sometimes, not all the time, because sometimes it's fun, especially like here on these YouTubers, and we're all getting to know each other and everything. I mean, it can be fun, but it's not always healthy to be that competitive all the time. And even though I said that, okay, I will have you know, somebody posted down below on one of my comments that I'm treated special at Prime because I have a YouTube channel. Hold up, wait a minute, no, not true. I'm treated special at Prime because I'm never late. And next week will be 4 years since my accident that I had when I was out for the first month solo. So I've been driving for 4.5 years if you count my my training time. And I had the accident my first month solo, and it's going on 4 years, and I've never been late. When somebody says things to you like, oh well, you have special privilege because you're a woman or because you're on YouTube, or no, we have a woman driver liaison. She said to me, I was just speaking of you the other day. And I said, oh, really? I was like, I didn't say it, but I wanted to. So if you're watching this, you must be wrong. I think you were lying because I'm just a number at my mega carrier. You couldn't possibly know me because I'm just a number at my mega carrier. And it has nothing to do with anything other than I've been here for a while now. And I've made it a point to go in and talk to people and get to know people, and if you don't, you won't. Where do I work? I work for Prime, and what is the best thing I like about the company the most? I was trying to figure this out because it includes so many different things. The one word that I came up with was convenience. That might sound strange in a trucking video, but because they have an open door policy, we can go around and talk to anybody. We can talk to our fleet managers, we can talk to their bosses, we can talk to the owner of the company. Like I mentioned somewhere that, as drivers, we're given his cell phone number, the phone number of the owner of the company. The person said to me, oh, well, you're special, you're treated special. I bet every driver doesn't have it. Every driver that was at those meetings, at the safety meetings, and watched the safety meetings has that cell phone number. And he said something like, I bet not anybody could just walk into his office. I don't know where his office is because he's always playing basketball, or he's walking around talking to employees, or eating with, in the cafeteria, through the cafeteria, talking to employees. So no, I don't know where the guy's office is, but I don't need to, and neither does any Prime driver. But it's not just convenience with getting your communication going, it's convenience with getting the truck repairs. That's a big deal, trying to get things repaired and making sure you have good equipment. It's just convenient. The amenities that we have and the services, even our phone app is so convenient. There is so much information on our phone app, and every time we decide that there's something else we want, even if it's a little tiny something, they figure out how to work it in. And all you have to do is just put in a little message in the feedback box and somebody writes back to you, and it's just amazing. We also have, somebody said to me, the same person said all this on one comment, said, oh well, I know the person who answered the phone at 3 o'clock in the morning when I call. Okay, guess what? So do I. I know all 4 of them that answer the phone at 3 a.m. I've gone in and I've talked to them. I've given them Christmas cards. I've gone in and seen them. I've introduced myself. I've thanked them for always being there. And that goes back to the convenience. We always have access to people. It doesn't matter if it's dispatch, or if it's fuel desk, or if it's like whatever it is. We have 24 hours in every department, and that is really convenient when you have issues that arise. And it's convenience when we solve issues It's not some big deal. There's always going to be issues, but how companies solve them and how employees allow the companies to solve them. A lot of times when people do bring a problem to somebody's attention, sometimes they just don't like the result, or, you know, maybe they're not willing to compromise. Some people are out here and they just think you're just going to jump for me, and it's not always like that. This is business. This is trucking. This is you know, it's a high demand industry that you have to be flexible, which I talked about in one of my live feeds. I'm going to tag Husky Racer, Billy Rains, This Dysfunctional Life, Wild Beard Trucking, and Trucker's Table. And I apologize it took me so long to make this video. Things have just been a little crazy. So please like, comment, subscribe, ring the little notification bell. Put a comment down below about what your first car was. And if there's a funny story about that, I want to hear it. And don't forget, my merch store is linked down below. It's 15% off for a limited time, so please check that out, because that's all positively trucking and trucking positive. And I sent some products home to my mom, and she said they were actually pretty decent, good quality, so please check that out. And I hope to see you out here trucking along. Bye.